Hi everyone. Regarding scheduling and evaluating my school, since I'm working at a yoga studio right now and looking to work on the university level in a non-team sport, I don't really foresee that scheduling baseball, football, and basketball teams is in my future. However, I can talk a little bit about the intricate nature of scheduling yoga studios. The industry standard in the yoga field is MindBody Online, the software. And we use this both to track our customers, collect payment, and to schedule the studio. For instance, Pilgrimage of the Heart Yoga Studio, where I'm a staff teacher, we have two functional rooms in 2 studios. So there's 4 rooms that you can possibly rent and use. We also have a couple of meeting areas that people sometimes rent out for meditation and that sort of thing. In considering priority of scheduling, it's always income producing activities that take precedence over everything else at the studio. So the regular 365-day-a-year yoga class schedule is the priority. And there's over 100 classes at 2 different studios. It keeps a pretty fairly regular schedule between the 2 studios. However, it is updated every month, and classes are evaluated every 9 to 12 months. And either the type of class might be changed, or it could be pulled if it doesn't have a good enough attendance for it. So those are things that management at the studio need to deal with on a constant basis. We also have yoga teacher trainings, which occur. There's a 16-week version in the spring, and there's a month-long intensive version in the summer. That blocks out our East Room the entire time that it's in there and takes precedence over everything else. Then we also have member workshops twice a month. So that would take the 3rd priority at the studio. After that, teachers and staff teachers rent the studio to run their own workshops. We have private lessons that the studio schedules, and we also have outside organizations that come in and rent the studio for meditations or for massage therapy trainings, that sort of thing. So it's a pretty busy place with a pretty hectic schedule. And the MindBody software maps it out really easily, although I have to say that there are glitches in the system as to how complex it is to book a session. And so there's a lot of training that goes into being able to use the system properly. People with access to that system include the operations manager, human resources, the 2 studio managers. The staff teachers can go in there and book private lessons. So there's a lot of hands in that system. So it needs to work really well. And there needs to be a really good understanding of what has priority and what does not. There are also times every day at both of the studios that the studio is blocked off to everything except for cleaning. It's a constant struggle every day to keep a yoga studio looking really pristine and be healthy for the students that come there. So having said that we have over 100 classes at the studio, other scheduling problems for management are the teachers. I want to say there's 50 of us, and 20 of us are staff teachers, and the others are independent contractors. The subbing schedule can get to be really insane. So there are time off requests for the employees, and they have to be approved. And then there's a constant email going out for people needing subs for either having an injury or being out sick, or perhaps being off at a workshop or a retreat. So it's a constantly revolving system of plugging teachers into place at the studio. Honestly, I feel kind of bad for management about it because they're just always on call. You can't just close the doors and say this teacher's sick. So there's a lot of subs constantly being moved in and out of the studio, and keeping track for payroll can be a little bit nutty. for our one operations manager. So having said that, that's kind of the complexity of the yoga studio. Transportation, I mean, really the only thing that we have going on transportation-wise is the movement of retail merchandise, and our handyman is in charge of moving stuff like that from studio to studio. He's also in charge of moving any equipment if we have a special workshop at one of the studios. So there's a definite hierarchy of who does what at the studio. Management might transport things such as money or documents from studio to studio. Certainly nobody below that level would. So this is kind of how I'm relating this topic this week, and scheduling and transportation, to what goes on in my life. I mean, in the event management world, that was a completely different thing. Transportation had to do with artists. Transportation had to do with equipment coming in and being dropped off and being picked up and taken out. That's a really intricate dance, and there isn't a software interface for that. You build your own spreadsheets, and you work in that manner. It's just the way that industry works. Incredibly complex. Scheduling of bands has to do with hierarchy of top names. Top names get priority of choosing when they want to be on stage. They play longer sets. Supporting bands play shorter sets. Scheduling of payment on site. Scheduling of revolving dressing rooms if they're on a festival site. Really all handled in pre-production conversations between production management at an event and the touring companies, and the vendors such as the staging company, the lighting company, etc. So the fact that physical education has this great interface that a lot of people are using is fantastic. I come from the world of Excel spreadsheets. So I suppose if I ever was in that position, I'd be very grateful for that interface. And that's what I have to say about that today. I hope it's helpful to the conversation in some way. I realize I'm not a coach or an athletic director. Thanks.